Okay, the next tool that we have in our toolbox is slope. Again, this is going to help us do a lot of graphing. A lot of this is redundant, but it's very, very important to have all of it down. I don't want you to have any missing tools. Okay, first of all is just the definition of the slope and finding the slope from the graph. That will be the part in this video, and then we will do the next two parts in the next video. Okay, slope is just a measure of steepness. It's the rise over the run. Now remember when I talked about plotting points, when I plot a point, I go from the left I go left or right first, and then I go up or down. With slope, it's backwards. I'm going to go up or down first, and then I will go right and left. So just remember that those are backwards. If you have a heads up, then it's going to be a little bit less hard for you to remember. You won't be confused as easily. So let's just look at what a slope of 1 looks like. Now in this slide only, I'm going to start at the origin. You don't always start at the origin. I only start here just because we're barely starting out to keep things basic. So I don't want you to think we always start at the origin. But for this slide, we will. Let me start at the origin. Now I'm going to go up 1 and over 1. So that puts me at that point right there. And then I go up 1 over 1, up 1 over 1. So that's going to give me a line that looks like this. I want you to be able to visualize what a certain slope looks like. A slope of 1 is just a 45 degree. For every unit you go over, you go the same distance up. Okay, for a slope of 5, again, for this slide only, I'm starting at the origin. Then I'm going to go up 5 over 1. Always think of your slope as a fraction. So if it's just a 5, think of it as being 5 over 1. Well, that would give me a really steep slope. So notice if I have a slope of 1, that's like right in the middle. If I have a slope of a number greater than 1, it's going to be steep. Let's look at 1/5. Start at the origin, I go up 1 over 5. Now that guy's kind of shallow. So 1 is kind of the midpoint. I've got steep slopes are bigger than 1 and shallow slopes are less than 1. I just want you to be able to visualize this so that if you graph something, you know if it looks right, or if you know if you've made a mistake. You can kind of tell if it looks like it's the right answer. Let's look at a slope of -2. Now again, if I just have a number, I'll think of it as being a fraction. So -2, I'll think of it as being -2 over 1. So now I'll start at the origin and go down 2 back 1, or down 2 over 1. So I have this right here. Notice that the blue, red, and purple, they are all increasing. My orange line is decreasing. Positive slopes are increasing. Negative slopes are decreasing. If I have a slope of 0, up 0 over 1, so I'm just flat. If I have an undefined slope, if I have 0 on the bottom, that's going to give me a vertical line. So a vertical line has an undefined slope. A horizontal line has a 0 slope. Okay, let's say that I have graphs and I want you to be able to find the slope. What you want to do is find where the graph crosses the grid lines. So you're looking for an intersection of grid lines. If this does not show up really well on your screen, please print out the slides or print out the lecture notes and you'll be able to see much better where these graphs cross. Now you're just going to have to trust me if you don't see it perfectly in the video, but let's just say that that is an intersection right there and that's an intersection. I want a vertical line going through that point and a horizontal line going through that point. That will just make it so that I can count off the slope a little bit better. So I have these 2 points. There's a lot of points I could choose. There's no perfect set of points to choose. I'm just choosing 2 random points, but I want them at intersections. Then I'm going to go up. So I went up 2 over 3. So that's a slope of 2/3. Rise 2, run 3. Now for this next one, let's choose those 2 points. There are other points I could have chosen. I could have chosen the origin, but I don't want you to get in the habit of thinking you always choose the origin, so I purposely didn't. But there are a lot of points you could have chosen. They will all give you exactly the same thing. So those 2 points that I chose, they were both at intersections. They had a vertical line that went through that point and a horizontal line that went through that point. So I'm going to see how far do I go up. Looks like I go up 6 over 2. So my slope is 6 over 2, which is just 3. Now, if you'd chosen points that were closer together, you might have gone up 3 over 1, and that would have still given you a slope of 3. Or maybe you would have gone up 18 over 3, and that would give you, or no, that wouldn't work, up 18 over 6, and that would still give you a slope of 3. Okay, for this one, let's choose points that, now again, I could have chosen the origin. It's probably easier to choose the origin, but I don't want you to get fixated on the origin, so I purposely didn't. So for this one, I'd go up 2, nope, up 3, and then over, how far is that? 12. So I have 3 over 12, and I simplify, that slope is 1/4. Now let's just see, did those look right? Yeah, slope of 1/4, that's kind of a shallow line. That looks right. 1/4 is less than 1, so it should be shallow. My slope of 3, well, 3 is bigger than 1. That looks steeper than a slope of 1, so that looks about right. Now 2/3 is kind of close to 1, and that's kind of close to a 1 slope, so far that looks good. Now this fourth slope, is it going to be positive or negative? Yeah, it's going to be negative because it's a decreasing line. Let's choose some points. Now, instead of going up, I'm going to go down and over. So that would give me down 3 over 3. That would give me a slope of -1. Does it look like a slope of -1? Yeah, it does. Now notice I could have done things backwards. I don't have to go from the left point to the right point. I could have gone down 2, back 3, which would have been -2 over -3, and then the negatives cancel and I still have 2/3. The points don't matter, the order in which you do them doesn't matter, as long as you do things consistently. So that is finding the slope from a graph. Okay, the next thing that we will do is just graph if I'm given a point and a slope. Now think of a slope of 3. I want you to imagine in your head what a slope of 3 looks like. Kind of get your hand and hold it up in front of your computer screen and put a slope of 3 on there. Now how many lines with a slope of 3 are there? We can kind of move your hand across the screen and there's a whole bunch of lines that have a slope of 3. So the first thing we want to put on the graph is the point, and then we'll put on our slope. So the point gives me the location and then the slope gives me the behavior. So I want to put the point on first. So my point is -1/4. Now remember, when I'm plotting a point, which way do I go first? Okay, -1 to the left. When I'm plotting a point, I do left, right first, and then up, down. When I'm doing slope, I do up, down first, and then left, right. And I know it's easy to get confused, so just know that it's a tricky spot and work at it. So the point -1/4, right there. -1 to the left, and then up 4. A slope of 3. Now a slope of 3, think of 3 as being 3 over 1. So I'm going to go up 3 over 1. Now I can absolutely draw a line right now. There's no problem with that. But if I had more points, I'd be able to get a more accurate line. So let's go up 3 over 1 again. Well, that helps. Okay, now I can still get more points. I can't keep going up 3 over 1 because I'm way off my graph. But let's go back to that first point, that -1/4. What now? -3 over 1, that's the same as -3 over -1. I could, instead of doing up 3 over 1, I could go down 3, back 1. And now I've got a whole lot of real estate I can fill in. Down 3, back 1, down 3, back 1, down 3, back 1. So now I've got a lot of points. Now you only need 2 points to draw a line. I totally get that. But the more accurate your line is, the more it'll help you, especially as we get into chapter 4. So there is a line that goes through all of my points. For the next one, pause the video and do it on your own. Okay, now that you've got it, the first thing I do is plot the point. I need my location first, and then I need my behavior. So I go over 3, up 2. Remember, when you're plotting a point, you go to the left or the right first, and then up and down. So that's over 3, up 2. That's my point. Now my slope is -4/3. Okay, so I start at my location. Start at your blue point. Don't start at your origin. I go up -4. In other words, down 4 over 3. Now how do I get more points? I can go down 4 over 3 again. But what if I want more points than that? Come back to your original point and go up 4, back 3, up 4, back 3. And there is your line. So that is the end of what we will do with this little video, and for the next part I will show you how to find the slope if you're just given the points.